So, before we get started, I want to kind of relay this on to a little story that I always tell when I'm out in the branches. If I look at the account executives today, it reminds me of when I took my 7-year-old fishing. I took my 7-year-old fishing about 4 or 5 months ago, and we're sitting out on the back of the boat, and he takes and casts out his line out there. Now, it's the first time he's been fishing, so we put a little bobber on the end of that fishing line. So that bobber's out there floating. And you know, if you've ever been fishing before, you know how those bobbers float on the water. So I'm sitting there with my line out there, and he's out there with his. And sure enough, that little bobber is floating. After about half an hour, that little bobber takes and pops down right underneath the water. Now, it only pops down once, and it only pops down for a split second. What do you think my kid did? You got it. Started reeling as fast as he could. Boy, he thought he was on Field and Stream, reeling in that fish. Now, all I saw was that little bobber coming across the water at light speed. And by the time that bobber got up to the boat, guess what was on the hook? You got it. Nothing. Not only did we not have a fish on that hook, but we also had the bait on that hook had flown off in the process, and a distraught 7-year-old that couldn't figure out when the bobber goes down for just a second why there wasn't a fish on the end of the hook. Now, good fisher people know if you're going to go out and fish, you got to take and put the bait on your hook, and you got to cast it out there. Now that bobber is going to go down once. When that bobber goes down once, you say, I'm just fine with that. I'm going to be patient. That bobber goes down again. You wait patiently. You wait until that bobber goes all the way under, and that line is nice and firm. Then that fisher person will take and bring in the fish. Don't have to sweat. Don't have to worry. Can even play around with it a little bit. I've seen people, they got their catch on, they even prolong it. They have some fun with it. Why? Because they know by the time they reel that fish in, that on the end of that line, that fish is going to be stuck to the end of that line, and they're going to have a sale. They're going to have their dinner for the evening. So now, how do we relay that on to our account executives? Our account executives are just like my 7-year-old. They'll get on the phone. They'll throw out their bait, their pitch to the customer. The minute the customer gives one little buying signal, just a little one, and our account executives go immediately to the application. Boom, 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 boom. And they reel that customer in as quick as they can. I can visualize that bobber coming across. And guess what happens? The customer doesn't give you docs. The customer doesn't sign. The customer signs and rescinds. Again, empty. And that AE in your branch looks just like my 7-year-old. Well, Dad, I don't know what happened. I did what you told me to do. No, you didn't. You didn't be patient enough. Didn't wait long enough to actually make sure that that fish was on the hook. To make sure that that sale had actually been made.